We have breaking news this hour coming into CNN from the Syrian-Turkish border. Turkish state media reporting a warplane, possibly Russian, has crashed on the Syrian side of the border. The cause of the crash remains unclear at this hour, but we've got information coming through to us all the time. Ian Lee joins us from Cairo. What have you got, Ian?
Well, Max, this is really just breaking. What we're hearing now from the Russian Foreign Ministry, what is that this is in fact a Russian plane that crashed along the Syrian-Turkish border. We do not know exactly what caused this plane to go down. We're also hearing that one of the pilots, at least one of the pilots, did eject, although their fate is unknown. This is in an area that is north of Latakia along the border. This is an area that doesn't have an ISIS presence. This is an area that has caused some friction, though, between the Syrian government and Moscow, as well as with Turkey, because this is an area that has a large Turkmen population. This is a population that is a Turkish ancestry. Turkey has expressed solidarity with these people during this war, although, at this moment, we don't know what was the cause of the plane, but there is a video that shows this plane going down on fire and crashing, and we're waiting to hear from the Turks whether what they know was involved in this crash.
Ian, the Russian Foreign Ministry confirming to us that the warplane that did crash was one of theirs. So what do you expect the reaction to be then from Turkey?
Well, this is the one thing we're watching extremely closely. If this was the Turks that brought down this plane, this will raise tensions between Ankara and Moscow. But right now, we do not know the cause. This plane, we're hearing, was cruising at an altitude of 6,000 feet, 6,000 meters, over 18,000 feet. So that is fairly high. We know that most shoulder-fired surface-to-air missiles cannot reach that elevation, so which means that it has to be something a bit more sophisticated. That being said, we don't know what brought this plane down, but definitely has the possibility, if it was Turkey that shot it down, then to raise tensions, although we're hearing as well that that this plane had not breached Turkish airspace. This is also coming from the Russians, so we're just waiting to find out what led to this plane's crashing.
Okay, Ian, on that, let's just go straight to Moscow and speak to Matthew Chance. He's on the line right now. Matthew.
Hey, Max, that's right. In the past few minutes, it's been confirmed, of course, by the Russian Defense Ministry and the Foreign Ministry and the Kremlin as well, that it was indeed a Russian warplane that was downed by the Turks, because the Turks themselves, as I understand it, have said that they brought that aircraft down after a violation of its airspace. What the Russians are saying at this very early stage is that that's not the case. They're saying that the plane did not violate Turkish airspace, that it stayed within Syria. They're saying it was shot down from the ground. But there's not much detail beyond that, except to say that the two pilots that were on board appear to have parachuted to the ground. Again, the condition of those two pilots is, as far as we're concerned here in Moscow, not quite known. We're expecting there to be a statement. In fact, the Kremlin has told me that there will be a statement later on today by the Russian president. He's going to be meeting the Jordanian officials later on today, and so at that opportunity he will be making a statement, according to the Kremlin, about this incident. It's clearly a huge escalation. This is the first time that I can remember, and I think I'm probably not alone in this, that a NATO country has shot a Russian plane out of the sky. Turkey is, of course, a NATO country. And so it represents a major escalation, not just in the regional conflict inside Syria, but potentially could worsen relations, which are already strained, of course, between Russia and the NATO military alliance. And so it's an extremely serious development that could have far-reaching consequences.
Yeah, and this is President Hollande is heading to Washington to try to convince President Obama to work more closely with the Russians over Syria. And there was some hope that he might have been able to get some sort of agreement, at least on practical coordination between the two countries. But this is going to throw that completely off course.
It potentially will be a complication, yes. I mean, the Russians are going to be furious about this, obviously. And, of course, much will depend now on what happens to the pilots. The French President, François Hollande, you're right, he's going to Washington. He's also coming to Moscow on Thursday, in a couple of days from now. He's going to be meeting with Vladimir Putin. There's been something of a French-Russian alliance emerge since the attacks in Paris. Russia and France seemingly very close in their positions in terms of wanting to destroy ISIS inside Syria as quickly as possible. There's always been a division, of course, between Russia and the West over what to do in Syria, particularly over the fate of Bashar al-Assad, the Syrian president. And, of course, Russia and the Turks are on different sides, essentially, in that conflict. The Russians are very much backing the Syrian, what they would call the legitimate government of Syria, of Bashar al-Assad. And the Turks are, supporting rebel groups who are opposed to Bashar al-Assad. And so they've been at odds on the battlefield for some time. But as I say, now that it's confirmed that a Russian warplane has been shot out of the sky in Syria, apparently by the Turks, apparently for violating Turkish airspace, this is the first plane that they will have lost in this conflict, in this campaign of airstrikes that has been underway by the Russians since September. And so it's a huge escalation. Of course, it's a huge loss for the Russians to think that one of their aircraft has been shot out of the sky. And as I say, it could have very serious consequences for relations with Turkey and with NATO in general.
Matthew, thank you. Going back to Ian in Cairo, this is the issue, isn't it? Turkey is part of the NATO alliance, so this isn't just going to be a transnational issue, it's an international issue. And it draws into question the whole of the coalition working in Syria, how they're working together with the Russians, and an escalation. This could be interpreted by Russia as an attack by NATO, effectively, which could be hugely damaging to international relations.
Yeah, this really does have the possibility to escalate dangerously. Turkey in the past has accused Russia of violating its airspace. And we know the United States has also been talking with Russia about coordination of airstrikes, coordination of air movements to prevent something like this happening, so that a plane of either nation or either coalition isn't lost in these operations. But Turkey has said in the past and warned Russia of not violating its airspace. Now, Russia, again, we need to reiterate, Turkey is saying this plane violated its airspace. Russia is saying that it didn't, and we're hearing from Turkish state media that it was one of their planes that shot this one down. But you're right, this does have the real possibility of an escalation, a dangerous escalation, because Turkey is a NATO country. We'll probably expect to see both countries coming together talking about this. Neither side wants to see this escalate where it drags the two directly against each other. Right now, as we heard from Matthew, the Turks are backing the rebels. The Russians are backing what they say is the legitimate government in Syria, two proxies, really. Neither country wants to see this go blow the blows directly. But there will be a lot of talking, not only between Moscow and Ankara, but there will also be other NATO countries involved in this, trying to de-escalate it, as neither side wants this to wants the tensions to rise.
I'm the leading state sponsor of terrorism.